Who is the next Sam Laporta? I get asked this question nearly every day. And your boy ranked number 1 in tight end rankings across the entire fantasy industry in a bunch of data collection. Looking at everybody's rankings, your boy finished number 1. Not number 2, not top 5. Number 1 in 2020 and 2018 in tight end rankings across the entire industry. This is a topic that I do love to delve into. And the next Sam Laporta is probably on screen right here. The Fantasy Football Show begins right now. The next Sam Laporta, the next Tank Dell. People get so mad about this conversation. The next Puka Nacua. Dear Smitty, there is no other Puka Nacua. He's one of one.
How dare you have this conversation?
No one's gonna do this or this or this. Relax, Bob. It's a conversation. And yeah, Sam Laporta is a different kind of monster. These two guys on screen, they're already known products in the NFL. There's not an exact one of one kind of copy we're trying to pull from this group of people. We're merely trying to answer the question, how do you dominate at tight end in 2024? The big name guys are obvious, but are they really that obvious when you think about their cost of entry? Why is Trey McBride going in round 5? Ask yourself that question. Trey McBride is the easiest call here. Kincaid is outstanding as well. Kincaid's probably my number 3 tight end. You could even say him and Kelsey are neck and neck for 2024 redraft. But McBride is my clear number 2 behind Sam Laporta. And he has the best chance, in my opinion, of unseating Laporta and being the number 1 tight end in 2024. I love Kincaid. He's got a real good shot at it. No one's saying Kincaid can't have 95 receptions, 1,000 yards, and 8 touchdowns or 10 touchdowns. We love Kincaid. Nobody's been higher on Kincaid than this channel, than your boy. But it doesn't mean he has to be 2. He's number 3. Very respectable number 3. But McBride is a very special case because if we look at the numbers, it's crazy when we see what this guy did. First of all, let's pull up his 2023 stats. And he had a remarkable year. He had 81 receptions, 825, 3 tutties. Not huge in the touchdown department, but I do think that will increase. If you extrapolate what he did last year in the really 10 games that he was playing as the starter, getting starter volume, it still only would have been about 5 or 6 touchdowns if you extrapolate the data. But where it gets really interesting is if we say, look, he wasn't really used until about mid-season or a little bit past, a little bit before mid-season. In weeks 1 on, so for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, not much at all. The targets you can see he's not getting targeted much at all. I didn't even count these right here. Really, it wasn't until this Baltimore game when he saw a whopping 14 targets, they said, we got something here. He scored a touchdown and 95 yards on 10 receptions in that game. He was on the map. He was a starter. He was a bona fide rising star. And we said, okay, we got to watch McBride. He looks really good. 131 yards, 8 receptions on 9 targets. He had 43, 60, 89 and a touch, 8 receptions, 10 receptions on 11 targets, 102 yards. And then he topped it off with a touchdown against Seattle in this final game. Now, you got to ask yourself, what does this mean, Smitty? What am I looking at? Why is there a green box here and a red box here? Because if we take the games where he was counted on a starter and we divide this by 10 games to get the per game usage here, we multiply it back by 17 and extrapolate it out against 17 weeks. On 17 weeks with that 10 games of data, a big pool of data. It's not like we're taking 3 games, a small sample size. 10 straight games we took. We're talking about him, if we extrapolate it out, getting 11, 13 yardage wise, 112 receptions, that's 6.6 per game, 65.5 yards per game. Again, only about 5 touchdowns, but this is a remarkable year. I think the touchdowns go up because the defensive attention is going to go toward MHJ more than it is probably McBride. McBride's going to have maybe a 7, 8, 9. I mean, he could have a 10 touchdown season, but let's call it a safe 7 or 8 touchdowns with, we'll call it a safe 100 receptions for 1050 to 1100 yards. This is arguably, and he's capable of that 10 touchdown year, arguably the tight end 1 or 2 at the end of the year. So if you ask me who is the next Sam Laporta, My answer is McBride, but that doesn't mean it's the same vein, the unknown kind of rising star. Ben Sinnott, we'll talk about Ben Sinnott in a minute. Luke Musgrave, even though he's not a rookie, these are the guys that more fit the bill of the next Laporta coming out of like almost nowhere, right? We'll go over those guys too, but if I'm going to give you a player that's going to be one or two, Laporta finished and it is, Laporta's going into 2024 as the tight end one. You want me to find the next tight end one? It's going to be either Kincaid or McBride. McBride being the slight edge, given what I just showed you. He's 1,100 yard, 100 plus reception tight end. Last year, not off of, hey, if he improves and gets better. Last year, you extrapolate those 10 games, he gets 5 touchdowns, 110 plus receptions, and 1,100 plus yards. That's insane. And I think he does get the 8 or 9 touchdowns. Now, if we go over to Kincaid, who I love Kincaid, you guys know that. He had a whopping 73 receptions, 673 yards, and 2 touchdowns. In a very similar fashion, wasn't used until later on. They eased him into things. Diggs is now gone, so the target share is up for grabs. They got Keon Coleman, who's a rookie. He's going to be brought along slowly. Unless this team trades for an Ayuk or a Debo or somebody later on during the season or later on in the offseason. Right now, Kincaid will be potentially the number 1 target for Josh Allen. So I'm going to say that this is a 90 reception plus total in 2024, a 1050, over 1,000 yard receiving year for Kincaid, and similar touchdowns, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10. If I had to guess, I'd say these guys, McBride and Kincaid, are both capable of getting 10 touchdowns, 10 or more if everything goes right. And both of them should see more red zone targets this year. Number one, think about it. Kyler Murray's going to march his team into the red zone more frequently because of MHJ. Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't some hindrance that makes his life, McBride, harder. It makes it easier because now the Cardinals will matriculate the football down the field. Less punts, more scoring opportunities, living in the red zone. The kickoff rules will have his team living closer to the end zone, less punts. This is going to be a very good touchdown capable year for Kincaid and McBride. They're both going to be capable of 8 to 10 touchdowns. I wouldn't look at this 2 touchdowns for Kincaid or the 3 touchdowns for McBride as some sort of harbinger of things to come for their touchdown production or where they're capped at or what they're capable of from the touchdown category. I really think both of them are 10 touchdown capable. I really think both these guys could be the top touchdown getters at the tight end position in 2024. I'm not going to hold these low 2 and 3 touchdown total numbers against them in 2024. They're getting major upgrades in their situations. Their target share is going to be through the roof. McBride does not lose targets in this offense. He only gains better opportunity. If you want to know who my next Sam Laporta is, these are the 2 guys. Okay, now you want me to dig deeper and find some sort of diamond in the rough, we can do that too. And I understand if you miss out on these guys, or let's say you're sitting there and somehow Mahomes is there and you take Mahomes and then McBride gets sniped and you're like, damn, I went a different direction. I get it. You're not going to always land these guys in every single draft. Sometimes you want to have that approach where you're grabbing a wide receiver or a quarterback or another running back instead of these guys. So you want to go, let me get 2 of those later tight ends that could be outside the top 8 or 7 or even 10 that could move into the top 5. Every year, almost, a tight end outside of everyone's top 10, even top 12, ends up finishing as a top 5 tight end. This is how I won those ranking contests in 2018 and 2020 at the tight end position, finding the diamonds in the rough. And Ferguson is a absolute smash for this approach. You've got a guy that is probably going to see Dak Prescott not be able to lean on the run as much with Zeke Elliott and Dowdle. Rico Dowdle, he's got like 300 yards to his name last year, if even that. I doubt he'll do anything in 2024. Ferguson's going to need to step up and consume more target share, especially at and around the goal line. This guy could be an 8 touchdown and 900 guy or 800 guy easily. So Fergie definitely fits the bill. Brock Bowers, rookie. Everyone's forgetting what this kid's capable of. He got a sour hand, okay? They gave him a bad quarterback room. O'Connell today, there's news that he could maybe be the starter and have the lead against Minshew in week 1. And I don't know what the future holds for Bowers right now, but I do know that he's capable enough of being the safety net and having a great rookie year. He's remarkable at football. He's different than every tight end end coming out of this draft class. I do think Bennie Snead, we'll talk about him in a minute. Other tight ends have the capability of being the next Laporta as much as Bowers, but Bowers, we can't forget what we thought of this kid before he landed in Las Vegas. In Dynasty number 1, his future is going to change. They could get Shedeur Sanders, they could get Dak Prescott. We don't know what the hell is going to happen at the quarterback position in LV in 2025. So in 2025, he should get no knock on his landing spot. You should have patience with him, not be overreactive Oscar and be like, I don't know what's going to happen in the future.
Get away, McBride. You're absolutely garbage.
This guy is a monster in the making, and even in a poor QB room that's going to need a safety net, a mechanism to help keep the quarterback room as productive as it can be, to try and move the football down the field as much as they can. Devontae Adams getting double teamed. Brock Bowers should have a pretty damn good rookie year, and there's no reason he can't be a top 5 tight end in 2024. Dallas Goedert, everybody forgets about this guy. He has had injuries. The offense was kind of a mess last year, but Hurts was a top 6 quarterback 11 times last year. In 17 weeks, he still was phenomenal. This offense, imagine what Hurts will be doing, how good he'll look, how much better he'll pass the football in Kellen Moore's system. And I believe that this guy is going to be quietly one of the sneakiest guys outside the top 10 for the tight ends that could be a top 5 finisher. You want to ignore the early tight end approach, no problem. This guy mixed with Luke Musgrave, this guy mixed with a handful of different players, is one of the sneakiest tight end rooms you could build in your fantasy football 2024 drafts. Dallas Goedert to the mother freaking moon. 8, 9 touchdowns, 10 touchdowns, 800 yards. He doesn't have to have 1,000 yards receiving. He could do one of those lopsided 8, 9, 10 touchdown years with 800 yards, a bunch of receptions, and be inside the top 5 with ease. Now, I'm not saying that Kelsey isn't going to be a top 3 or 4 or 5 tight end. I'm not saying that there aren't other players to consider, like even looking at my thefantasyfootballshow.com rankings. We're not done, by the way. I just want to briefly touch on some of the bigger names that someone's going to be like, what about Kyle Pitts? Of course, Kyle Pitts is in this mix. He could have a really, really good year. I'm trying to identify later guys right now. I went over the top 2 big name guys that are being ignored that could still be Laporta good, but they're going around 4 and 5 or around 5 and later in McBride and Kincaid. Those are the bigger dogs to go get because of the cost of entry. Kyle Pitts might go a little earlier than that, but Kyle Pitts is definitely going to have, I think, a good year. Evan Ingram was fantastic last year, not writing him off by any means for anybody thinking, where's Ingram? Where's Kyle Pitts? Where's Andrews? Like, those are more obvious names, so we're not touching on those. And Kittle, Kittle's older, but there's definitely some upside there. I'm not saying there is an upside with those guys, so I just wanted to touch on that real quickly. But back on point here of going deeper and talking about guys that I think are a little bit off people's radars. Bennie Snead, this could be the Laporta. If you really want to try and find the rookie that could explode, do I think he's tight end 1 walking into next year like Laporta is this year coming off of his rookie year? Probably not. But this guy's been developing a rapport with JD5. They're rookies, so they were in rookie camp together. The rapport's been there from the jump with JD5. So Snead's got a ton of upside to become a top 5, 6, 7, 8 tight end in fantasy football. He really does. He's a monster. He's got a really good profile. He kind of reminds me a lot of the next guy, or one of the next guys, Luke Musgrave, in that, had things gone well for Musgrave and him stayed healthy in this amazing Green Bay system where Love was on the rise, we would have seen Musgrave have kind of a top 5, 6, 7 tight end season, I think, last year. So Bennie Snead could be exactly what we thought Musgrave could have been if he can stay healthy. The early rapport with JD5 is fantastic. Zach Ertz is there, so there could be a little bit of a slow unveiling of Snead, but he's definitely a guy you can draft as your second tight end, especially in best ball, that could develop into that very, very sneaky good prospect nobody saw coming. And then, let's close it out with Luke Musgrave. You could cuff him to craft if you wanted in best ball. I don't know that you need to cuff in non-best ball. It depends how big your rosters are. But Luke Musgrave is on one of the best offenses that's on the rise, at least in Green Bay, leaning on these different components as Jordan Love tries to accelerate his game in the right direction. And Musgrave is a specimen. Like prospect-wise, metrics-wise, he was probably the most interesting tight end in the draft class last year, even over Laporta in terms of height, weight, metrics, all that data. So he's phenomenal when you're looking for that deep grab. You pair him with Goedert to safeguard yourself. You take Ferguson and Luke Musgrave. You can even, like I said in best ball, handcuff Kraft to Musgrave and then grab Goedert and have that trio. It is a good move, but Musgrave has a ton of upside, and Kraft is hurt right now, so that gives Musgrave an advantage. But one of those two tight ends, you can monitor Kraft if Musgrave gets injured, and then swap this advice for, because it really is situation that I love more than anything. I do like Musgrave a lot, but situation tied to Kraft or situation tied to Musgrave might make that top 5 sneaky good tight end emerge in 2024. This is how you dominate the tight end position. It's how Dad did it. It's how America does it, and it's worked out pretty good so far. Appreciate you being here. Don't forget to sign up for the Patreon so you can get into the big, huge 240 plus team draft tournament we're doing. There's also live chatting constantly, 365, 24/7. This replaced our Discord. It's live chats all day long. You got a trade question, you want to watch football or talk football together while the games are going. We got a live game day lounge when the games are going on. $10. It eliminates all the trolls. Only serious people are in here. Lockdown content, go do it live. Also, I've got thefantasyfootballshow.com, a more extensive a collection of rankings, trade calculators, bowl predictions. I just dropped another bowl prediction right now, and you can use code DRAFT to get a 10% discount. Get on over to thefantasyfootballshow.com, and don't forget to get on over to Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty, link in the description of the video. 50% match on your first deposit. So if you deposit the minimum of $10, they'll give you $5. If you do 500, they'll give you $250, all the way up to $250. So join Underdog Fantasy, draft with us. We draft most midnights. Of course, I'm live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm live whenever big news breaks, and then I'm live most midnights doing the draft thing. But we do the draft thing different than other people. I don't just go on and put my little face in the corner of the screen and just do this
boring, old, mundane draft over and over.
We're taking phone calls. We're talking about a certain topic. We're breaking news, and then we're drafting kind of in between. It's the most entertaining draft show you'll find, not the regular old boring just there's another draft show. There's another draft show. We do it different. We do it live. Now get out of here.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com studios, it's the Fantasy Football Show. Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.